The aerial viewed Antarctic Circle as seen with satellite imagery. We're talking about the entire area of Antarctica ice sheet. The ice sheet has topographic face image of the book of Genesis, 49 chapter and 8 verse, Ethiopian Chaldean land things of ancient Judea and Jerusalem. Remember, it's the same Giza Sphinx pyramids in which we see as 1, 2, 3 grouping of pyramids, one behind the other. Okay, these are the same pyramids in Northeast Africa where a black man's face appears upon a lion's body in front of the 1, 2, 3 Giza pyramid. Now, if we see the same 1, 2, 3 grouping of Giza pyramids in the Antarctic Circle, where the United States Marines, this video is on YouTube, is seen parachuting down upon the Antarctic Circle, in front of the Antarctic Circle, 1, 2, 3 grouping of Giza pyramids. And these pyramids are ancient and covered with ice. So the question then arises, if the Isaiah 1919 Giza pyramids was created to an elongated headed, 4 feet tall, 3 fingers and 1 thumb on each hand, with big black oval-shaped eyes, aliens of the Temple Mount, this would be then the aliens of the entire African continent. If we look at the creation of the normal-headed human on Earth, we're looking at two ancient Africans. One, we're talking about elongated-headed Africans that have a penis. Okay, and so when we look at King Tut, Pharaoh Akhenaten, and look at who would have created the oldest of the two Africans, well, the Genesis 2:7 is the youngest of the two Africans. They populated the entire African continent from South Africa to north. And this is who the African thinks in which we now see in front of the Isaiah 1919 Giza pyramid actually ruled over. Now, if we go back to the African continent, European Bible lie, we are looking at the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, where it speaks of 12 sons of Jacob entering into ancient Egypt from Babylon. Now, this is the Stealth Pyramid E in which you see in this video, which also appears up on the wall that supports the Golden Dome, up on the octagonal building structure in Jerusalem. So this is where you take two pyramids, two stealth pyramids, and connect them at their bases. Now, the image is revealed in the Dome of the Rock outer wall that supports the Golden Dome as the Stealth Pyramid E. Now, this connects ancient Babylon, which is in Iraq, stealth pyramids, ancient stealth pyramid of Saqqara, ancient stealth pyramid of Doja, all the stealth pyramids in South America. So this means that if we go back to the African continent, elongated African Adamic race, which no longer exists upon the surface of planet Earth, okay, all we see today is Genesis 2:7, the normal shape-headed African Adamic race, in which is referred to as the 12 African continent tribes. Way before the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, in the 16th century, we see an illegal name change in the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, where the 12 sons of Jacob, we read in the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, we go back and rewind the clock. Okay, we must look at the African continent, the 12 African continent tribes from outer space. So this means that if we draw 12 horizontal white lines from east to west, from South Africa to north, and then look at them with satellite imagery, we will see nothing but African tribes living in each of the 12 geographic land surface lines upon the African continent. And which brings us into the terminology in which I call the original 12 African continent tribes, in which the Giza Sphinx of Genesis 49 chapter 8 verse, as the Chaldean Ethiopian line things of Judea and Jerusalem ruled over. Now this brings us back to the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse. So if we look at an illegal name change carried out by the 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars appointed by the King James of England in the 16th century, that was commissioned to go to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah, according to the book of Ezra 1:3. It's not located in the European false state of Israel, okay? So now it's located in Judah. That's why we see the Arctic Circle, lion thinks of Judah face. Now, we also see, if we look at the area-viewed African continent, I'm going to show images in another video of it, but you're going to see some of the images of the area of the African continent. Now remember, if we draw 12 lines from South Africa to north, the 11th line falls in the Isaiah 1919 Giza Pyramid. This is why I refer to the area viewed North African continent, Sphinx 11 face. Now in that area, we're talking about Sudan, Ethiopia, and Giza, okay, Egypt. So this is why the black man's face appears in the Antarctic Circle amongst the 1, 2, 3 same Giza pyramids covered with ice that we see in Northeast Africa. So as we look at this globe Earth steppe pyramid Mercator projection, we're looking at the Dome of the Rock giving the humanity a steppe pyramid Mercator projection. Whereas if you stack 5 blocks on top of one another on the left side, that they form a step that you walk upon. Now turn around and do the same thing on the right side. You stack 5 blocks on top of one another that they form a step that you walk upon. Now stand back and look at the whole image. That's the black African steppe pyramids that's located in Saqqara, in the steppe pyramid of Doja, South American steppe pyramids, right? So if we go back and see that these steppe pyramids, you connect 2 steppe pyramids at their bases, now you have a north, south, east, and west coordinate vector. Now take a look at the 3 white ice-covered Giza pyramids, in which the United States Marines were seen parachuting down in front of. Now, if we say, wait a minute, I begin to see your point, Laurel Smith of Chicago, Illinois, nonprofit home video and artworks creation. You're telling me that the 3 Giza pyramids was connected to the African continent in the Old Testament, the Lion Sphinx of Judah. Okay, whereas Jerusalem is in the 12th line. So if you look at the African continent, now you're falling off the North Africa into the water. That's where we see that little V-shaped piece of land. But if we see it with satellite imagery from outer space to add to the North African continent, that's where we see the Sphinx 11 face. Okay, now so therefore the 11th line is Judea. Okay, if we draw 12 lines from South Africa to north. The 12th line is Jerusalem. So this brings us back to Ezra 1:3. Let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah. It does not say the European false state of Israel. So if we go back to the Book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, wrongfully crediting this is the European Gentile nation that took over Africa, lied about the Giza Sphinx being taken above the atmospheric regions of planet Earth, and Ezekiel's glowing wheeling wheel like Old Testament UFOs. So now, the Book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, illegally changed in the 16th century. This is the 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars. They illegally changed the 12 African continent tribes, in which populated the entire African continent, in which the black man faced upon the lion's body ruled over, into the 12 sons of Jacob. So this is why the illegal naming of the 12 sons of the African continent tribes, 12 African continent tribes into the 12 sons of Jacob, completely denied and concealed the African things of ancient Judaism.